Hi, Bernice Tallfarrell Patrick here, certified life coach with Ordered Steps Life Coaching and content creator for the Psalm 42 Gathering Place, where purpose meets passion. You're not standing in fear, you're standing in favor. This week's session is a continuation of the book of Esther. We ended the last session with Esther fasting and praying for 3 whole days and 3 whole nights in preparation to go visit the king and beg and plead for mercy on behalf of the Jews. On the third day, Esther puts on her royal robes and stands in the inner court of the palace in front of the king's hall. King Xerxes is sitting on the royal throne in the hall facing the entrance when he sees the queen standing in the court. King Xerxes is pleased to see the queen, so he points the golden scepter in her direction. So Esther approaches the king and touches the tip of the scepter. And then the king says to his beautiful queen Esther, "What is it, my queen? What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be given you." Esther invites the king to a banquet and requested that the evil Haman attend as well. Although Esther was courageous, she was cautious. She was wise, but she had also prepared herself for the moment. See, when Esther stepped into the inner court, she wasn't just stepping into a room. She was stepping into a moment that could have cost her everything, including her life. By law, approaching the king without being invited meant death, unless, of course, he extended the golden scepter. Esther didn't know the outcome, but she knew who held it in his hands. See, Proverbs 21:1 tells us the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. He directs it like a watercourse wherever he pleases. This is where hope lives, in God's hand. When the king said, "What is your request? It shall be given to you, even up to half the kingdom." It wasn't really about the division of power or separating the kingdom. No, this was an ancient expression meaning favor. It meant you have access. It meant you can come boldly before the throne of grace. Come on, somebody. See, Esther's beauty didn't change the king's heart, nor did her courage. God had already gone before her. Esther didn't try to manipulate the king or the moment. She didn't rush the request. She trusted that God was already at work behind the scenes, making things happen on her behalf and the behalf of her people, the Jews. See, the hope Esther had in God is the hope for anyone who finds themselves standing in a hard place. When you don't know how a door will open, when you're afraid to step forward, when obedience feels risky, when the future seems uncertain, when there's nothing else you can do but trust God. The same God who turned the king's heart towards Esther is still ordering steps today. See, mankind doesn't hold complete power regardless of position. You may not be standing in a palace hall or an inner court, but you may be standing at a crossroads. A decision, maybe, a conversation, a transition, a moment of obedience, a report, and that outcome you can't control. God has already ordered it. And like Esther, you may be wondering, how is this going to work out for me? Hope says this: if God called you to step forward, he has already touched what you are stepping into. The king's heart wasn't Esther's responsibility. Her responsibility was to show up at the inner court, to be there to place her hand on the tip of the golden scepter when the king pointed it in her direction. God handled the rest. If God asked you to step into the inner court of your life, would that be uncomfortable? Faith stretching? Show up knowing this, though. Favor is not forced, it's prepared. Access is not earned, it is granted by God. And the heart you are worried about, God has already turned it in your favor. See, that's hope, that's faith, that is ordered steps. When Queen Esther stepped into the inner court, she was responding to something deeper than fear. It was deeper than logic, deeper than intellect, and deeper than self preservation. She was answering a holy call. Psalm 42 and 7 says, Deep calls unto deep at the noise of your waterfalls. All your waves and billows have gone over me. That moment in the inner court was deep calling unto deep for Esther. The deep place of Esther's faith was calling unto the deep purposes of God. Psalm 42 reminds us that deep places aren't accidental. They are often where fear meets obedience, silence meets trust, and our human weakness meets God's strength. Esther didn't step into the inner court casually. She stepped in, fasted up, prayed up, and fully surrendered. Her courage wasn't loud, it was anchored. And when deep faith rose up, it met a God who was already moving deeply on her behalf. This is the hope for everyone and anyone in Psalm 42 gathering place. When your soul feels overwhelmed, when the waves and the billows feel heavy, when obedience feels costly, deep calls unto deep. And that means what God is stirring in you is connected to what he has already prepared for you. The deep of your calling will always meet you with the deep and the depth of God's grace. That's why we have to walk in our calling, not someone else's. God has graced us for what he has called us to do, not someone else. Don't run from what God is calling you to. When deep calls unto deep, don't pull back, don't hide. Respond to the call. Like Esther, step forward knowing favor has already been released, access has already been granted. God's hand is already moving. This is the place where hope rises. This is the place where courage is formed. And this is the place where ordered steps meet divine purpose. When deep calls unto deep, heaven is announcing that your season of release has come.